Yate apena. That's good morning in the Navajo language. As I am here on the Navajo Nation, Dineta, I thought it might be nice to interject a little of the local language, the little that I know anyway. I am pleased to be here. I'm going to provide a reading at the invitation of Jim Perkins, who wrote me recently. And my reading will be the beginning part of The Encounter, one of the short stories in Dubliners. Now, why The Encounter? Not so much because I'm going to discuss the actual encounter covered in the story, which may or may not be of a prurient nature with some young boys meeting an old man, but because when Jim wrote me, he said, I hope all's well out in the Wild West. And this story begins with some young boys pretending they're part of the Wild, Wild West. So I thought it was appropriate. It rang a bell for me, and I thought that might be a way to kind of use my location, the Wild West, use a story that refers to the Wild West, and contribute to this Bloomsday event. So with that, let me begin. It was Joe Dillon who introduced us to the Wild West. He had a little library made up of old numbers of the Union Jack, Pluck, and the Halfpenny Marvel. Every evening after school, we met in his back garden and arranged Indian battles. He and his fat young brother Leo, the idler, held the loft of the stable while we tried to carry it by storm, or we fought a pitched battle on the grass. But however well we fought, we never won, siege nor battle, and all of our bouts ended with Joe Dillon's war dance of victory. His parents went to 8 o'clock Mass every morning in Gardner Street, and the peaceful odor of Mrs. Dillon was prevalent in the hall of the house. But he played too fiercely for us, who were younger and more timid. He looked like some kind of an Indian when he capered around the garden, an old tea cozy on his head, beating a tin with his fist and yelling, "Ya, yaka, yaka, yaka." Everyone was incredulous when it was reported that he had a vocation to the priesthood. Nevertheless, it was true. A spirit of unruliness diffused itself among us, and under its influence, differences of culture and constitution were waived. We banded ourselves together, some boldly, some in jest, and some almost in fear. And of the number of these latter, the reluctant Indians who were afraid to seem studious or lacking in robustness, I was one. The adventures related in literature of the Wild West were remote from my nature, but at least they opened doors of escape. I liked better some American detective stories which were traversed from time to time by unkempt, fierce, and beautiful girls. Though there was nothing wrong in these stories, and though their intention was sometimes literary, they were circulated secretly in school. One day, Father Butler was having the 4 pages of Roman history read, and clumsy Leo Dillon was discovered with a copy of the Halfpenny Marvel. This page or this page. Now, Dillon, up. Hardly had the day, go on, what day? Hardly had the day dawned. Have you studied it? What have you in there in your pocket? Everyone's heart palpitated as Leo Dillon handed up the paper, and everyone assumed an innocent face. Father Butler turned over the pages frowning. What is this rubbish, he said. The Apache chief? Is this what you read instead of studying your Roman history? Let me not find any more of this wretched stuff in this college. The man who wrote it, I suppose, was some wretched fellow who writes these things for drink. I am surprised at boys like you, educated, reading such stuff. I could understand if you were national school boys. Now, Dillon, I advise you strongly, get at your work, or this rebuke during the sober hours of school paled much of the glory of the Wild West for me, and the confused, puffy face of Leo Dillon awakened one of my consciences. But when the restraining influence of school was at a distance, I began to hunger again for wild sensations, for the escape which those chronicles of disorder all alone seemed to offer me. The mimic warfare of the evening became at least as wearisome to me as the routine of school in the morning, because I wanted real adventures to happen to myself. But real adventures, I reflected, do not happen to people who remain at home. They must be sought abroad. And isn't that just so with Joyce? Much of his life was spent abroad. He sought his adventures in Paris and Switzerland, elsewhere. So, again, thank you for allowing me to participate. And Jim, thank you for coordinating this massive effort. It is a labor of love for you, I know, but the participants and the listeners and those who tune in really appreciate it. Thank you.